Wait. Am I live? Wait. I think before I go live. Hold up. If I'm live, that's really funny. It's not even supposed to be deltarune. That's not what we're doing today. Can I edit it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can. I did not mean to pull that up. That's so weird, dude. Like, I didn't even, hold up, we're gonna BRB screen real quick. I was, like, I click start stream and usually, like, gives me, like, this, like, prompt thing before I do it, so, like, I can set a thumbnail. But apparently not. That's a permanent thing. I'm gonna be mad. How do I change stream title? Can I do it? I know I can. I just don't remember how. Let me go to studio and see if I can do it through that. That's so weird. Hold up. Here, let me put a link to my Discord and we're good. Live, bam. Okay. Okay, I'm back. I got pizza, so I'm still on the BRB screen. We're gonna keep our BRB so I can call Jackson, not leak private documents. He's not even answering. You know, it's fine. We don't need Jackson. Oh yeah, I forgot servers. Typing with one hand's hard. Servers. I should be typing this into YouTube, not Google. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. That's 7.1 mil. I think this is how you're supposed to name. Yeah. I haven't seen this yet. Maybe I have. Like Google, according to YouTube's red line of death, but I've heard my.
What's up, you little freaks? Alright, I know what you came here for. You saw the thumbnail, you read the title, you know what's up. I'm here to convince you of my sincere belief that Burger Pants will play a major role in the story of Deltarune. In fact, not just major, pivotal. Not only will Burger Pants be revealed as the Knight in Chapter 6, but Burger Pants will single-handedly set off the chain of events that lead to the Roaring. That's right, this man isn't just a mentally unstable incel, but in fact an agent of the apocalypse. A harbinger on a pale horse. Armageddon, thy name is Burger Pants.
Also, I'm going to give my general take on how the rest of the story will play out and respond to criticism of my last theory.
But who cares? Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else, these are my predictions for Deltarune Chapters 4, 5, and 6, aka the Burger Pants Conspiracy.
Chapter 3, Channel Surfing.
First of all, in case you're new here, this video is a follow-up to my previous theory entitled 7 Days and 7 Nights, in which I posited that the Knight isn't actually a character, but a title given to anyone who opens a Dark World. You don't have to watch that video to understand this one, but if you'd like some additional context, check it out. Link in the description and the corner thing, probably. For now though, here's what you need to know. I theorize that each chapter's Dark Fountain will have a different creator, each of them considered the Knight of their respective Dark World. My predictions from Chapter 1 to Chapter 7 are pictured here. I think I gave a pretty solid case for Alvin,
Alvin, I can kind of see, but Mrs. Alvin or whatever her name was, no, just no. I believe he said there's only one line of dialogue referring to her in the whole game. I highly doubt, I think Chris being the Knight does make more sense for Chapter 2 than her being the Knight. Because he could have just, because like at the end of Chapter 1, he could have like walked while he's in like that limp form to the computer lab and made a dark world, but, and maybe it was Chapter 1's night as well. So, essentially, if Cammy Boy G's last video, like his last theory, if that's incorrect, then Chris is the Knight. Because if there's not multiple Knights, if there's only one knight, it's Chris, because he made a dark fountain, and that means he would be the knight. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Boom, and Noelle, but frankly, we have so little to go off of regarding chapters 4, 5, and 6. The middle children here were shots in the dark. The dark fountain, if you will. So, full disclosure, this video will be less evidence-heavy and therefore a lot more fanficky than the last one. That being said, my methodology for these picks was largely tied to my focus on the theme of escapism. The question was, who would be the most drawn to the possibility of escaping their everyday life? So I put together a team of the most depressed pieces of shit Hometown had to offer. The parentally neglected school outcast, the most divorced guy of all time, trademark, and the average retail employee. Now, I understand if the very idea of Burger Night might trigger some sort of visceral full-body response from you, but I gotta be honest, the more thought I've given to these three choices, the more I've convinced myself that Burger Pants is the most likely among them. Before we can get to that though, allow me to present the same corkboard but with some different shit on it. This is my patented
Ingenious navigational chart for obtaining reasonable readings of every chapter thereon.
or incorrect for short. There are three aspects of each chapter I want to fill in here: the night of each chapter, the Dark Fountain's location, and our Dark World tag-alongs. We'll be coming back to the incorrect chart after each chapter is filled out in full, but for now let's start with a simple one and fill out chapter 3. Right off the bat, we know two of our major categories. Regardless of their motivation, we know that the night of this chapter is for sure Chris, and the location is the living room, which looks like it will meld aspects of the Dreamer household with TV-related themes. Now, what exactly do I mean by tag-alongs? Well, I realize this isn't a popular opinion, but I personally lean toward the idea that Noelle is going to be our only additional party member throughout the game, and the rest of the characters who make it into a Dark World will remain NPCs. I know fighting alongside Toriel would be sick, but Noelle is a particularly important character to this story that I think will see a lot of focus. See the previous.
If Noelle's the only playable character, I'm gonna be disappointed. I don't think there needs to be like a Snowgrave route for each playable character, but I think or weird route. I think Toriel should be a playable character, but even well, not really playable. What? Party member. But well, I think they kind of have to, because if they're gonna join the party like how like Noelle does and stuff, if they get into a fight, then she's going to be in the like battle type thing. But like if they're just walking behind Chris, that makes more sense than to like just not have to do that at all. I'd be kind of disappointed if we didn't get to use Toriel as a party member. I do think it'd be interesting if there was like a Snowgrave route for Toriel, but we'll let me for a bit.
This video for details on that. Additionally, developing a new party member to briefly use in each chapter might be an unrealistically huge amount of work. I mean, on top of the art.
Okay, Toby Fox, he spent 3 years on chapter 3 and 4. I feel like he doesn't really care if stuff takes longer to make. So maybe, or he cares obviously, but like, sorry, I'm chewing. He cares to an extent on how long things would take. So I feel like it really wouldn't be too hard to make another character. Maybe, I don't know how game design works, but I feel like you just need to like have essentially the same thing, just like same thing as like Chris, Susie, Noelle, Alze, just like replace the sprite and like have different like attacks and magic. But maybe Toriel will have like an act button instead of magic if she is a playable character. I don't know why Susie. I guess it's like only the party leader or something. Maybe like Toriel will like try to be the like party leader since she's Chris's mom. Anyway.
Artwork, animations, and moveset, you also have the fact that each party member has an entirely unique dialogue quip for every single item and piece of equipment you can give them, and the list
He's not that lazy. Anyways.
of things to do only gets
Maybe it's because of the T thing, but
exponentially longer the more items and party members are added to the game. In the
Wait, actually, Maybe it is because of the tea, because it becomes rotten tea. So maybe there are going to be more party members to account for. So that's why it became rotten tea. So there wasn't that much stuff to do.
And I don't completely put it past Toby to just put his nose to the grindstone and commit to the bit, but I also don't think it's wise to get our hopes up. All this to say, when I say tag along, think Birdley's role in Chapter 2. Lightners who end up in a dark world with us, go through a nice little contained character arc, maybe have a mini-boss fight, and maybe get killed by Noah.
Yeah. That sound.
Chapter 3, I predict Toriel, Undyne, and Napstablook. I've seen debate over whether Undyne or Napstablook will be answering the call, and frankly, I say why not both? Get the word frankly out of there, fucking god.
It's Undying, and I'll stand on that. Because she's so much more of a better character than Absolute, and that's my only difference.
On with the wind ass, and I say why not both? I don't see an opportunity for either of them to see much focus later into the game, and I think it would be really cute to see their dynamic as partners. Okay, rookie.
It's Plucky.
We've got the perps cornered. You be good cop, I'll be bad cop.
Good cop? But I'm not feeling that good today.
Oh, well, how do you feel?
I feel like garbage cop.
Okay, if you're garbage cop, then I'm recycling cop. Let's clean. How do you feel?
I feel like garbage cop.
Okay, if you're garbage cop, then I'm recycling cop. Let's clean up these streets.
Oh,
What?
they got away.
Chapter 4, Youth Group.
So before we fully start on Chapter 4, let's talk fountains. Now, despite being a spherical pajama gremlin, I'm a normal person just like you. I put on my pants one leg at a time, I don't mind the smell of my own farts that much, and when it's time to predict future Dark Worlds, I look for double doors. If you're unfamiliar, there's this popular idea that a set of double doors makes any given location more likely to house a Dark World. The supply closet has double doors, and the computer lab didn't have double doors when Chapter 1 originally came out, but seemingly got gender-affirming surgery by the time Chapter 2 released. Good for her. Of course, Chapter 3's Dark World is an exception to this rule, but seems to be a special case due to the fact that we're in the room it's being created in, and therefore won't require the animation of Chris and Susie jumping in. So in preparation for this video, I did a few laps around hometown and took screenshots of every cis pair of double doors I could find, plus any other places of interest, and came up with a tier list of sorts. Here in the stupid loser baby bottom tier are the buildings that realistically don't seem like super interesting Dark Worlds, but we can't completely rule them out because we've never been inside. These include Caddy and Brady's houses, the Blook family house, Sans and Papyrus's house, and the apartment complex that Snowy, Monster Teen, and Susie all seem to live in. Our next tier up includes locations that seem somewhat significant but have no double doors to speak of. On the lower end of this tier we have QC's Diner, the police station, and Town Hall, but on the higher end we have the alleyway and the lake. The alleyway stands out to me specifically because of the graffiti portraying Everyman. Everyman is significant.
I think Onion Sandrin's gonna get a. Well, I don't know what it's called with that. Like beachside. I don't know. I don't think that's gonna be its own Dark World. I don't think it will.
Because
like, you have the dialogue. You just don't even have to talk to him at all, or him or her. I don't really know. You don't have to talk to them at all.
let's talk about Everyman another time. And the lake, of course, holds significance because of Onion San's mysterious song from the sea.
Crisper, I miss you, you hear? Missed you all day. Did you miss me? Oh, I was missed. My
Press no. When she's like, when I don't even know she they when they're like I'm like, oh, did you miss me? If you press no, they just go away. You never talk to him again.
Existence being acknowledged feels good, you hear? You hear closely for a second. You're my friend, right? As my friend, do you hear a secret? Sometimes I hear a song at night. Just a little piece of a song, you hear? It sounds like it's coming from under the water. Deep. Do you think someone's auditioning for my band? Oh, I'm about to make another friend. I can feel it, you hear?
Thank God.
Our second highest tier is where I put the misshapen double doors, including the school's front doors, the gate to the cemetery, the gate to the holiday house, and the church. The holiday house and the church skew toward the top here because we also haven't been into these places, meaning there could always be a set of double doors inside them as well. They also just give plot-relevant energy, in my opinion. Lastly, our top tier. This is where I put all the sets of double doors without body dysmorphia.
God, I wish that were me.
These are the ones that most resemble the shape of the ones we've already seen, and in my opinion would all easily lend themselves to dark worlds with interesting themes. Here we have Icy's Pizza, the back room in Asgore's flower shop, a whopping 4 sets in the hospital, and of course, Gaster's secret clubhouse. As we move forward, you'll see that the higher up on this tier list something is, the more likely I've incorporated it into my predictions. Now, with all this laid out, let's finally start talking about Chapter 4. For starters, you already know my pick for the night this chapter is Susie. I think that at some point during Chapter 3, Susie will learn that Chris opened that chapter's fountain. There's a lot of ways that could happen. Maybe she learns about it from the darkness of this chapter, maybe Chris directly...
Let me chew for a sec, sorry. Chapter 4, I already did make it short, but it doesn't necessarily have to be church, because I know it has the stained glass, but like I said, the school has stained glass. Wait, does it? Am I gaslighting myself? Wait. No, it can't be the school. But it could be the school because of the closet. It looks like, because it's like dark, like how you was when we first entered the closet. But
He tells her, we may not even know that she knows. Regardless of how it happens, we know dark worlds have changed Susie's life for the better. She feels good about herself, has access to food, has close friends for what seems like the first time. When we approach the supply closet again in Chapter 2, she says,
Alright, Chris, this is it. Moment of truth. Everything we've been waiting for is just behind this. If we, open this and there's nothing inside, will, we still be... Screw it, let's just open it already.
As you can see, Susie is actively worried that she and Chris wouldn't have a reason to be friends if it weren't for the Dark Fountains. Without Dark Fountains, Ralsei and Lancer would disappear. She and Noelle would go back to being strangers. All this being said, I think it's very much in character for Susie to follow Chris's lesson
in non-bonery studies
and continue the Dark World adventures to ensure Susie to follow Chris's lesson
in non-bonery studies
and continue the Dark World adventures to ensure her new life doesn't disappear. Not to mention, in the September 2022 update, we got this song called Hometown Day with the tagline, "After the dark night, the sun shines brightly." It was set next to these screenshots of Chris and Susie exploring the town in Chapter 4. If the established pattern isn't...
My mic unplugged after there was a lip crack sound effect. Terrible time.
broken and this exploration segment comes after the Chapter 4 Dark World, then perhaps you could say this song plays after The Dark Knight, if you catch my cold. Moving on, our next matter of discussion is location. I'm betting you've heard this one before, but yeah, I'm thinking the church. We know from Rudy that church will be taking place on this day in-game, and the Dreamers are obviously a church-going family, so allow me to spin you a yarn. I'd bet you Susie doesn't normally attend church, but seeing as she's waking up at the Dreamer household today, her ass is getting dragged along. She's uncomfortable and isn't familiar with the customs, as seen by this concept art of her about to fist the bowl of sick fruit juice, and ends up wandering off when she gets bored of the service. She's gone for a few minutes, but she comes hurrying back, like, Chris, there's a fountain in the youth group room, Chris. The night must have been here, Chris. Holy fuck, Chris, holy shit, there's a fucking... So the two of them sneak off to seal the fountain, but mostly just to skip church together.
My headphones, like, for some reason, they just, like, don't... Audio just doesn't know. Is this a nada for my headphones sometimes?
Shit, there's a Chris, the night must have been here, Chris. There's a fountain in the youth group room, Chris. The night must have been here, Chris. Holy Holy fuck, Chris, holy shit, there's a fucking... So the two of them sneak off to seal the fountain, but mostly just to skip church together. The reason I suggested the room where the church holds youth group is that, first of all, I just think adding an additional theme to the Dark World is fun. Since Chapter 3 mashes together the TV and Dreamer House, I think this one could mix the church aesthetic with a sort of arts and crafts theme. This would make sense considering a certain line Spampton says in his shop.
Chris, you and me are all ready.
Friend request accepted.
We don't need anyone else. We don't need
easels
or
CRTs.
As usual, navigating through the Spampton speak is a little difficult, but he's mentioning easels and CRT TVs in the same breath here. It's already a popular idea to assume that Spampton, much like Jevil, is sprinkling some foreshadowing into his dialogue, and we already know that a Darkner based on a CRT will be a central figure in Chapter 3, so maybe an easel Darkner could play a role in Chapter 4. Anyhow, let's move on to tagalongs. There are a lot to pick from, considering the majority of townsfolk likely go to church, but another reason why I picked the youth group in particular is that I think now would be a good time for the oft-speculated Caddy and Jockington Dark World. I find it pretty likely that the Cat family would be attending church, and you know Caddy's demon-summoning ass does not want to be there. So I figure she might sneak off to get out of church service too, and Jockington also comes. I also want to throw the Booms up here as a possibility, because if I'm correct about their...
Jockington's confirmed for Chapter 4. Wait, hold on. This series honestly is spot on so far based on what's been confirmed.
Involvement in the first two chapters, I have to think the Church Dark World would be our best opportunity to, make them actual characters. If they're not there, I suspect we'll at least learn some info about them in this chapter at the very least. Lastly, I'm adding Asgore to the list. I don't imagine him playing a huge part in the chapter story, but since he's my Chapter 5 night pick, it's important that he learns how to make Dark Worlds here. I'm thinking Toriel sends him to check on the kids after they've been gone a while, and he ends up falling in. Then at the end of the chapter, we get back to Toriel, and she's like, "Church is already over, you stupid motherfucker. You dumb bitch. You useless fucking buffoon. God, you fucking suck, dude. I hate you so much."
Chapter 5, Checkmate.
In order to talk about my predictions for Chapter 5, I need to address a very common criticism I received regarding the last video, and that is Deltarune's scrapped intro cutscene. During the Undertale 6th anniversary stream, Toby released a scrapped piano sketch of the game's main theme with the comment,
"The arrangement is really early, but I created this thinking of an animated intro for the game, similar to Wild Arms. I still see it in my head when I listen to the song. The best part would have been at the end, when everyone is running up the staircase, as the silhouettes of the bosses from all the chapters show up, and the knight, standing in a white door, at the top of the stairs, turns around and looks down at them."
A lot of people see this as definite proof that my theory isn't true, and I get it. Toby is very clearly referring to the knight as one guy here. I actually did know this information when I wrote the video and planned to bring it up, but I'm sorry to say, I forgot. You might be expecting me to pull out the "it's scrapped so it's not canon" defense, but truthfully I think that defense is pretty weak. I'm aware that a game's story can be altered during development, but completely removing your main antagonist as a character is sort of unbelievable. Instead, I have a theory as to why the cutscene was even scrapped in the first place, and it all has to do with my predictions for Chapter 5. For starters, I think Toby fully intends to mislead us about the knight. The game is going to have a character we are utterly convinced is the knight before the full reveal of what a knight actually is. That character, serving the role of Red Herring, is the one Toby's talking about here. The one whose silhouette would have appeared at the top of that staircase. I think Chapter 5 is when we come face to face with that Red Herring, and I think that because of chess theory. If you're unfamiliar, chess theory is the idea that each of the main bosses in Deltarune will be named after a chess piece in descending order of value. Chapter 1 features King, Chapter 2 features Queen, Chapter 3 would introduce Rook, Chapter 4 would have Bishop, Chapter 5 is where we would fight the Knight, and Chapter 6 or 7 would feature a Pawn. Now, as I feel my credibility slowly seeping out of my body, I have to admit that I get why chess theory isn't widely believed. I think what compels me the most about it is just the fact that King and Queen have such unremarkable names in comparison to other Toby Fox characters. Like, why not call them Spade King or Cyber Queen or something like that, you know? Maybe Laptop and King Bottom, you know what I'm saying? I do get that Chapter 3 is clearly the biggest hurdle chess theory has to overcome. The name Bishop lends itself to a church Dark World easily, but someone named Rook in the TV Dark World feels like a stretch, especially knowing Tenna will have an antagonistic role. Personally, I think Rook could work as the name of a scummy TV executive type that Tenna answers to. The word rook can be used as a verb meaning to swindle someone out of their money, and sounds pretty similar to crook, but hey, I get it if you're not on board. What matters most to my take here is that in Chapter 5, we face someone we fully believe is the knight, and if you've been paying attention, you know that someone is Asgore. I trust I don't need to make a case for why Asgore is perhaps the saddest man on the planet. Toriel straight up hates him. He got fired from the police force. He's about to lose his business, which is also...
I don't know if he's gonna say this. Pawn. That's the best one. I'm 100% saying either Pawn's either Chris or...
So where he lives, he sleeps on an air mattress on the ground next to bags of dirt. And his bitch ex-wife took the fucking kids! If anyone needs an escape, it's him. So he decides to put the knowledge he learned yesterday to use and opens a dark fountain in the back room of his flower shop. Imagine the gang going into this fountain thinking Asgore is in trouble, only to find him being tended to and loved by the...
There could be... I don't think anybody's ever thought about this. I don't know, because I'm just that guy, but... What if there's more than 7 chapters? Because, like, what if you get to chapter 7 and you just scroll down, but, like, you just scroll down to chapter, like, 8, 9, 10? Because isn't there, like, something in the files that says, like, chapter 8, 9, 10? And you can just, like, scroll down once you get to chapter 8. I mean, once to chapter 7, but, like, since you can only, like, scroll down to 1 and 2 currently, because, you know, Training 4 hadn't unlocked. What if there's more than 7 chapters? Has Toby ever outright confirmed 7 chapters?
The denizens of his own dark world, openly calling him the Knight. Imagine the drama as we're led to believe that Chris's own father, a broken man already ostracized by the town, was the villain we were chasing all along, the one trying to cause the roaring. And of course this brings me to my theory on why that cutscene was scrapped. I want you to imagine Asgore's silhouette in that doorway. When Deltarune was first conceived, Undertale didn't exist yet, so Toby wasn't using the character designs from that game. You could hide a lot of characters inside a suit of armor to keep the Knight's secret identity intact, but something you wouldn't ever be able to hide is Asgore's big dumb horns. That's why in the last video I called Asgore the Horned Knight, despite the many cooler names you all suggested in the comments, because Asgore's horns are so iconic to his design, they are the entire reason the intro cutscene never came to be. Okay, reel it in, Cammy. You're just writing Toby Fox fanfic now. I imagine this Dark Worlds theme would be a melding of gardening and comic books, considering Asgore tends to borrow comics from Alphys and has one sitting on his TV. Speaking of Alphys, she seems like the only non-hospitalized person in town who likes Asgore, making her a shoe-in for the tag-along spot. I'm predicting Mayor Holiday for this one as well, since a lot of folks speculate that the C who sent Asgore's eviction notice is her, and she could be coming to collect. I'll throw Toriel up here too. She would be the only tag-along thus far to get 2 Dark World appearances, but I think her significance to Asgore and Chris is reason enough. So, here's the burning question. You already know Burger Pants is my Chapter 6 pick, so how does he learn about Dark Worlds? Well, take this dialogue from Chapter 1 into account.
You know when Azzy's coming home. You can't tell him this, but I really...
I think it's... I don't know, I'm going to the... I think it's how we do more bad times in. Interesting attack. Huff, puff. I guess you win. Endless single custom attack. Road fire. No thanks. Let's go back to KO Boy G. Because he is my G and he is.
You miss the guy. It'd be sweet to cruise around town like old times, picking up, for example, chicks. Which, as a matter of course, may not have ever actually happened.
Burger Pants is extremely concerned with how chicks perceive him in both Deltarune and Undertale. I propose that around the time of Chapter 5, maybe in preparation of meeting his pizza JPEG girlfriend for the first time, Burger Pants rolls up to Flower King in search of some chick impressing flowers and witnesses something he shouldn't. And what does he do next? Well, before we can get into the Burger Pants conspiracy proper, there's one more thing to go over. Let's talk Talk Sprites.
Chapter 6. One night at IC's.
Unfortunately, I have...
Chapter 6. One night
You can't even align it perfectly.
at IC's.
Unfortunately, I have to...
Chapter 6. One night at IC's.
Unfortunately, I have to open this section with some dire news. I regret to inform you all that Caddy and Bratty are also going to be important to this game. Caddy, Bratty, and Burger Pants all have something in common that I haven't personally seen anyone else pick up on. It all has to do with which characters have Talk Sprites and how long they've had them. I've taken the liberty of sorting each variation of Talk Sprite haver into categories. First of all, we have the biggest category, being characters from Undertale who had Talk Sprites in Undertale and still do. I think this category probably means the least in terms of plot relevance, simply because if any of these characters had Talk Sprites previously but lost them in Deltarune, it would just be jarring. I do think most of these characters will be plot relevant, I just don't think the Talk Sprite is a guarantee by itself. Next, we have the characters that are new to Deltarune and have Talk Sprites. This includes Susie, Noel, and Birdly, who have obviously made their mark on the story already, but also includes Caddy and Jockington, which is why the idea of them visiting a Dark World got so popular in the first place. This is made more significant by the fact that the remaining classmates, Snowy, Monster Teen, and Temmie, don't have Talk Sprites. Hearing that, you might bring up the same argument I brought up for the other Undertale characters. None of these three had Talk Sprites in Undertale, so why would they get them now? However, that is exactly what makes our next category so interesting. There are 3 characters who didn't have Talk Sprites in Undertale but do now. You guessed it. Caddy, Bratty, and Burger Pants. And I bet I know what you're thinking right now. They were shopkeepers in Undertale. You're looking at their face the entire time you're in the shop. They have no reason to have the traditional black and white Talk Sprites because you can't talk to them outside of their shops. And I would agree with you if not for one fact. This isn't a rule for Undertale shopkeepers. They didn't all get promoted to Talk Sprite havers. Temmie doesn't have a Talk Sprite. QC doesn't have a Talk Sprite. That's the name of the bunny shopkeeper in Snowdin if you didn't know. She runs QC's diner in Deltarune, and I'd forgive you if you didn't know that.
These two make sense to have a Talk Sprite, and so does he.
Because she doesn't have a Talk Sprite.
But he's dead. these two make sense because these are family friends. Like, because this is was it Asriel's best friend, and Caddy and Brady, they're like ants, but not really ants.
Right. And let's not forget about Gerson. Sure, he is dead in Deltarune, but the closest thing we have to him sure doesn't have a talk sprite. This upgrade wasn't for shopkeepers across the board. It was only for Caddy, Brady, and Burger Pants. And
Talk sprite. He's not the knight. It's deconfirmed.
call me crazy, but I think that matters. So let's really talk about Burger Pants. Yeah, that's right. Now's the time to don your tinfoil, friends. You've made it. Burger Pants is weirdly suspicious. First of all, take a look at this line from our aforementioned foreshadowing friend, Spampton G. Spampton.
Chris, did you know that the night? No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Too many excess vacation days? Take a goddamn vacation straight to hell!
Hey, does that line remind you of anything in particular? Maybe a certain line from a certain someone in Undertale?
Sorry, little weirdo. Threats won't work on me. I can't go to hell. I'm all out of vacation days.
Yeah, directly after starting a sentence about the night, Spampton makes a reference to Burger Pants. But that's not all. Have you ever thought about how we don't even know his real name? If you've forgotten, Burger Pants is a nickname Caddy and Brady gave him in Undertale, after an unfortunate incident involving burgers and pants. His nickname is actually Pizza Pants in Deltarune, implying a similar but more pizza-adjacent incident has occurred. But the fact that we don't actually know his name is weird, right? And it becomes even weirder when you look at the list of names that the intro sequence will react to. Enter any names from this list when you're naming your vessel, and Gaster will come back at you with
An interesting coincidence.
This list includes almost all the talk sprite havers in town, but also strangely goes out of its way to include QC, who doesn't have a talk sprite, and Gerson, who, as previously mentioned, is fucking dead. You know who isn't on this list? Alvin and Burger Pants. I don't even know what to make of that information, but it is weird, right? I mean, you could use it to argue that Alvin and Burger Pants won't be plot important, and you'd probably be right. But how did the less relevant turtle and the less relevant Undertale shopkeeper end up on here instead? I just think it's suspicious, alright? Not to mention, as I was editing the 7 Nights video, Toby randomly tweeted out 2 new Burger Pants talk sprites. And call me nuts, but I choose to see this as a sign from God himself. What other characters even get new talk sprites in between chapters? I'll tell you who. Every other character that's been to a Dark World so far! With all this information combined, I have a serious hunch that Burger Pants is gonna have his time in the limelight one way or the other. So let me tell you how it's gonna go. He finally gets a text from his online pizza girlfriend saying they can meet up in person. He swings by Asgore's shop to pick up some flowers for her, and he witnesses Asgore open Chapter 5's Dark World. So that would explain how he learns to make a fountain, but what exactly makes Burger Pants snap? Well, listen to this dialogue from Brady.
Like, well, Chrissy, you here? That guy at the pizza place? God, what was his name? Pizza Pants? Heard he got, like, a super hot girlfriend. What was her name? Like, Pizza Arena?
So, Brady definitely made up Pizzarina, right? Like, there's no other way to interpret that. So here's what I think is gonna happen. Burger Pants picks up those flowers on the way to meet Pizzarina for the first time, but Brady shows up instead, and he learns the hard truth. He is devastated, humiliated. This is maybe in the top 20 worst things that have ever happened to him, so he decides to make it everyone's problem and opens a dark fountain in Icy's Pizza. This chapter will be as unhinged as Burger Pants himself. I imagine the gang is going out for pizza when they find it. Chris is still under the impression that their dad is the knight. Noel's dad probably isn't doing so well this late into the story, so Susie tries to treat their dad-related blues with a visit to Icy's. That's when they come upon a brand new dark world out of nowhere. Not only are they baffled that this world exists at all, since they've already stopped who they think is the knight, but it is by far the most bizarre and terrifying dark world they've experienced yet. A horror-themed, pizza-coated mad world.
What are the timestamps? Content 7 full story comment response outro. Oh, I thought that was. I mean, I'm not gonna say what I thought that was.
Run amok, gamer blood energy drink seeping from the walls. This is the part of the video where I would have pinned a few creepy ices on the board to illustrate what I'm talking about, but there appears to be something happening behind me, so I'll just get out of the way.
IE, IC entertainment is not responsible for seizures, dismemberment, loss of teeth, or death. Gias fell for burr. Okay. The following footage contains flashing lights. Be careful. A few months back, I put out a call to all the artists in my audience to create some icy-inspired freaks for this video. I thought I would get 10, maybe 15. Original plan was to pin a few on but there's far too much sound here to like to see it. Seek school deltarune and everyone who submitted Is it determined? Hold up. I forgot what it's called. Isn't light spelled like a weird way for that? Light motif. Motifs. Yeah. That was fan. Yeah. It's his theme, isn't it? It's free. It could be freedom motif. I don't remember. It's a freedom leitmotif. You know, this is it's his leitmotif.
So yeah, that's what I think it'll be like. Dark worlds are most often compared to dreams, but this world, much like Icy's fun event counterpart, is a nightmare. All the while, the chaotic horror of this chapter will be juxtaposed with the petty melodrama playing out between Burger Pants, Caddy, and Bratty, who I think will be the tagalongs for this chapter. Well, I should say main tagalongs, because I think a lot of Lightners could show up during this chapter. First of all, the entire Icy staff seems odd.
How long have you been streaming? I don't know why I just said. Oh, that is Twitter or X. It doesn't even tell me how long I've been streaming. What is this? This is stupid. It won't tell me how long I've been streaming. I think I am gonna end it here. Deltarune, yes. Sans Undertale, Deltarune, Sans Deltarune. Actually, hold on. Actually, I'll play the trailer before I end. That might make you in the back. Okay, I decided that for no reason. No, I kid. Never mind. What does 8-4 mean? 8-4. Wait, what is 8? June is 6, isn't it? Yeah. Hold up. 8. July 7th, so it's August 4th. Just Monday. So I don't know what the 8-4 means. Deltarune today. This was only 10 days ago. I feel like that was like 3 weeks ago. Okay. as always, we're gonna use green room every time until chapter 3 is out. Rune. Why did I type this? See, I can type so fast.